Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Khans of Tarkir. Without further ado, let's get into our pack 1 pick 1, and we've got a pretty sweet rare dragon style twins. It's a little bit expensive, but it is a very, very large 5 mana for a 3/3 with double strike and prowess. So even if you don't trigger the prowess, this is kind of like a 6/3 or a 6/6, some combination of those stat lines. And if you trigger prowess just once, this does 8 damage, twice and it does 10. If you're playing any combat tricks, you're going completely wild, and because of the double strike, it's really hard for your opponent to find profitable blocks for this kind of card. This looks pretty great to me. Again, a little bit slow for the mana cost, but this is a format where I think you can definitely justify some high mana value creatures. And I'm happy to start with Dragon-style twins to start things off. Pack 1, pick 2, we get a great follow-up. Crater's Claws is a super reasonable spell, even without the Ferocious ability, where you're just spending a red and X to deal X to any target. So this can be your finisher to wrap up your opponent's life total, get that down to 0, or you can use it as an early game removal spell to clear out whatever you need. It's a little bit inefficient in that you're going to be spending an additional red mana on top of the X for X damage, but because this format is full of inefficient creatures, like 3 mana 2/2s with every Morph card, and 3 mana 4/2s like Alpine Grizzly and stuff, usually it trades pretty comparably in mana value, where you spend 3 to kill a 3 mana card, 4 to kill a 4 mana card, and so on. So it's actually perfectly reasonable for its cost, even when you're just using it as a removal. And obviously the flexibility to be able to shoot your opponent in the face is pretty great, so we'll take the Crater's Claws here. The other thing that's really nice about that is it's a really easy pick after another red rare. We're just twice as deep into the color. For pick 3, there is a Secret Plans here, which is absolutely what I would recommend. Strictly trying to keep that win rate up, but we have drafted Secret Plans 2 times in a row and played the green-blue Morph deck, splashing a bunch of other colors each time. I think that's a great archetype, a very nice one to draft, but I want to do something new today. I don't want to just do 3 Secret Plan decks in a row, so starting off with 2 pretty great red spells, we're just going to stick into a different kind of deck than the Secret Plans deck. But again, even off of these 2 first picks, you could just take Secret Plans and start going into Teamer, which is green, blue, red. Focus on green, blue, red with a lot of morphs and get excellent value off the Secret Plans. Not what I want to do today. We can take a Mardu Rough Rider or like a Mardu War Shrieker. I think I'd rather take the War Shrieker here. The Rough Rider doesn't look that crazy as a 5-drop creature, but the War Shrieker is really, really nice. If you've got a decently low curve in an aggressive deck, you can jam this out turn 4, and then you jam this out and a Morph, or this and a 3-drop or 2-drop creature, anything like that. This can really dump your hand onto the board super quickly and keep the pressure on for a more aggressive style deck, which is where we might be headed today instead of big splashy Morph nonsense. For pick 4, I don't think any of these cards are super great in aggro. Mystic of the Hidden Way, though, there are some board stalls that this format can have, and getting an unblockable creature is pretty nice. So we might go Mystic of the Hidden Way towards blue-red. That would let us go blue-red-white for Jeskai or blue-red-green for Teamer. So nice to head into an enemy color pair this way. We could also take Rush of Battle towards red-white, which would go red-white-black or red-white-blue. So that would also work pretty well with the enemy color pairs there. This pack's not looking great. Easy Abomination if we were on that Secret Plans path. Instead, probably a Ponyback Brigade or a Rush of Battle. Speculation towards red, white, black here. I don't think Rush of Battle's great unless you have a high warrior count, but there's a lot of warriors in red, white, and black. All the Jeskai cards in red and white, though, they're monks. So currently we only have monks and a shaman. We don't have any warriors. For the lifelink that really swings the game here, I'll take the Ponyback Brigade. It's really nice with Rush of Battle style cards for getting your board state super, super wide before you buff it all up. So we'll grab that, potentially towards Mardu, and here's a Debilitating Injury towards Mardu as well, towards red, white, black. Could also take the Mardu Hate Blade, which is better than it looks because the primary mechanic in Mardu, which is red, white, black, is raid. And that's a mechanic that's going to let your spells do a little bit more if you attacked with a creature this turn. And there's not a lot of good playable 1-mana creatures. So the ones like Hateblade go up in value because they help you just play like a 2-mana raid card turn 2 a lot easier. So I'll take the Mardu Hateblade here, I think, over Debilitating Injury. I do think Debilitating Injury is good removal in this format with the amount of 3-mana 2/2s and stuff that are there. But it would be pushing into red-black, which would be exactly only in Mardu. But if I take a white card, then maybe we get to play it in red, white, blue, or red, white, black. Although this one, because it has the black activated ability, we still probably only want to play in Mardu. Maybe it was better to just take that first Debilitating Injury, but getting a second here makes it really easy to take this one at least. Pick number 8. Not a lot here. Dorky Morph card or the Russia Battle Finisher for a Warriors deck. I'll take the Russia Battle Finisher. Pick number 9, another Ponyback Brigade. 2-mana 2/1 on curve that can jump into the sky to finish things off later. Or there's also another Mystic of the Hidden Way for an unblockable threat. Still not doing great on Warriors, which is awkward. Might go for another Mystic here. Red, blue, unblockable, aggro stuff. Yeah, I don't really know exactly where this deck's going to end up between red, white, black, and red, white, blue. But it's one of those two things for sure. I think I'm a little disappointed in how things have gone because there's plenty of just perfectly fine Morph dorks just flying around the draft pod. And there were dual lands running around as well, so this would have been an excellent, really easy position to just draft another Secret Plans deck. But I gotta keep things interesting here. I don't want to draft the same deck every single time. For content purposes, if I weren't recording, I probably would just be on Secret Plans again. But we find a really nice card, Pack 2, Pick 1, to continue down the blue-red train, a Jeskai Elder. Can attack and block really favorably in this format, again because of the quantity of 3-mana 2/2s and the like. If you trigger Prowess just once, this is going to eat your opponent's 2/1s and 2/2s, so most of the 2 and 3-mana creatures. So it's really good at threatening to get pumped. And if your opponent doesn't block it, you get to keep setting up your draws, drawing and discarding each turn. So I like Jeskai Elder a lot. Been playing against it a good amount, and it's always seemed pretty nice. So blue-red is looking pretty solidly to be the color of the deck right now. The core 2 colors, at least. Pack 2, Pick 2, we have a really nice flexible spell out of the red here. Arrowstorm is both a beefy removal spell and a finisher, very similar to our rare, where we can deal 4 damage to any target, so any creature we need to kill, or we can shoot our opponent in the face for the last points of damage. Also, if we attacked with a creature, we get to deal 5 damage instead, and the damage can't be prevented, which isn't the most relevant line of text ever, but dealing 5 instead of 4 is a nice little buff there. So grab an Arrowstorm to top things off. For Pack 2, Pick 3, no great creatures here outside of the Mardu Skull Hunter. But I definitely like our blue cards better than our black ones right now, and red, blue, black is not really a thing in this format. Rather just take a burn away, just a big top-end removal spell for the massive dorks that are available in this format. Pack 2, pick number 4. Now we can get a Ruthless Ripper. Really, really nice, really efficient little Death Touch creature. It's not a warrior, though. Or we can take a Mardu Hateblade, or we can take a Force Away for a bounce spell to get the big creatures out of the way. Again, I'm only 2.5 cards deep into black, because 2 and a Morph. In blue, we're like 3 cards deep, because these we really, really want to flip, these unblockable cards. Only 2 cards deep in the white. I still feel like I'm trying to push a little more towards red-blue than red-black here. I don't know if that's right, but I'm going to take the Force Away as a way to bounce big creatures off the board and clear a path for all of our prowess dorks. So this is our 2-drop. We've got 2 3-drops, a 4-drop, and a 5-drop on curve for creatures. So it looks like we're mainly looking for creatures here if we're continuing down the Jeskai blue-red at the core path to the deck. We've got some quality spells here for sure. especially quality top-end spells. Wow, a pick 5 secret plans? Someone is living the Morph dream. They're going to have a busted deck here. That's unfortunate. Card going criminally late, in my opinion, based on how well it did in our last couple drafts. Guess I grab a Crippling Chill here, because Canyon Lurkers is just another big dorky top-end card. I would definitely take just even a Wetland Sandbar, a 2-mana 2/1, over a Crippling Chill here, because we definitely need more cheap creatures, but none of these cards in this pack are cheap creatures, so Crippling Chill it is. Now we can take a Bloodfire Expert, 3-mana 3/1 on curve to beat down with. Not a big fan of Swift Kick, because it's a fight spell, and a lot of our creatures are kind of low toughness. They're not going to fight very well. And the Singing Bell Strike, definitely not a big fan of this card either. This is a relatively slow format. Your opponent can absolutely make it to the 6 mana to untap their creature and then just still have it up as a blocker. At that point, you're just down a card, and it plays real poorly. Pick number 7, Mardu Warsheeker for dumping the hand out. Even if you're only in red, this card is perfectly fine. It dumps out a Morph, or it gives you a red and 2 colorless, which can cast a 3-mana red spell still. So I like the Warsheeker a lot, but having 1 Treasure Cruise is pretty nice. Just like 1 Delve card is always gonna get a decent cost reduction. You don't want to like take a bunch of copies without ways to fuel it, but you can always run like the first Delve card pretty easily, and it ends up being real cheap later in the game. Pick number 8, maybe splash into green here for Bear's Companion, or even a Snowhorn Rider Morph. Snowhorn Rider gets the benefit of always being castable as a 3-mana 2/2, but Bear's Companion is just a bit stronger in terms of the power toughness for the cost. Take the Bear's Companion. Don't know how likely it is we play it, but it is a cool option. No creatures here, and I do not like the Swift Kick in this color pair, so Tormenting Voice it is for dorky card draw. And I need to just start taking blue-red creatures over everything in the final pack to fill out this deck, or we're going to have to be like a dirtily 3-color build, throwing in these white spells or throwing in these green spells. All right, there we go. Wetland Sandbar. I'll take it. This card would be unplayable in so many modern limited formats, but the general card quality is definitely a bit lower in the set. The general like quality of the creatures and stuff like that. Sage-Eye Harrier might be a fine splash. It's a 3-mana 2/2 on curve to fill out the deck. Heart Piercer Bow is a decent card in multiples. I don't really like just having 1 copy though, so I don't love like gambling on scooping that up in the draft, hoping to get like a couple more copies to make it consistent. But I don't know. Well, there's a red-green duel to splash in the Bear's Companion to help get there. We're not good at making a wide board state. We have a low creature count and no token production, so Canyon Lurkers it is. And another Canyon Lurkers. At least we're getting these kind of topping off our curve, if nothing else. Pack 3, pick number 1. What do we got? We've got an excellent Morph card with Mistfire Weaver, so a 3-mana 2/2 on curve that we can flip up to make it a 3/1 flyer, a good evasive threat that chips in for a lot of damage. That also counters a removal spell when we flip it up, so I really like Mistfire Weaver, to the point of taking it over Bringlow, which again would be pretty unplayable in most modern limited formats, most modern draft sets, but it's perfectly serviceable removal in this format. So it is a real loss in passing it up here, but Mistfire Weaver I think is just very good. Even just playing it as a 4-mana 3/1 flyer for an evasive threat is perfectly reasonable. I'll take another Mistfire Weaver and be really happy about that one. Unless I want to splash in Mardu Charm, which is pretty good. 4 to a creature, or get 2 1/1 warriors with first strike at instant speed. You can get those warriors with first strike and just eat an attacking morph creature early in the game. That's pretty spicy. Because the morph cards don't really flip up to be able to win a fight against a 2/2 without just trading off until your opponent has 5 mana up. There are plenty of morphs that'll flip for less than 5 mana, but they're not going to like flip into a 3/3 or something that wins combat against a 2/2. They'll flip into like a 5/2 like our Canyon Lurkers or something like that that'll still die in that combat. Or like a 1/4 that can beat a 1/1. Stuff like that. Anyways, I'm just taking another Mistfire Weaver. I think the card's great. I don't think Mardu Blazebringer is great. You get 1 attacker block with it and then it's gone. Cool idea, but I think it needs to be bigger than a 4/4 for 3 for that to play well. Another Prowess Dork with the Bloodfire Expert. We've got a solid non-creature count here just by not finding a lot of creatures, so Bloodfire Expert might be okay, or we take another Mystic and just play all the unblockable creatures in the world. I don't hate that idea either. Such great fixing running around here. All these triomes, these 3-color lands just flying around the draft pod. I'll take another Mystic out of this pack. But I will not stop being sad about not being the Morph deck. Take a Wetland Sandbar here. I don't think we need 4-mana creatures on curve because we have enough going on with Morph stuff that turn 4 can be flipping up a Mystic of the Hidden Way or Mistfire Weaver or something instead of casting a 4-drop most of the time. Really want to have more 2-mana creatures ideally to curve out and be aggressive to make up for the fact that our top end or big creatures to close out the game are going to be considerably smaller than what a lot of these big, like, green, slower decks are capable of doing. So let's curve out a little more with that there. Throw in a Jeskai student. Playing a little bit of white here. Trying to keep things close to just 2 colors so that we keep our tempo going. If we ever, like, miss on the correct color of a land in a more aggressive archetype, it can be pretty devastating. Like, we're definitely not like a grindy late game sort of deck where we can afford to do a lot of colors and splashing super easily, especially without having drafted basically any lands. So I'll just stick to our 2 colors for now, take the Set Adrift for a nice big top end removal spell. Slows our opponent down quite a bit, gets stuff out of the way. Summit Prowler's perfectly reasonable here, 4 mana, 4/3. No extra text. Magic cards used to have a little bit of simplicity to them. Not every card needed to have 7 lines of text back then. But yeah, card plays perfectly fine in a format full of 3 mana 2/2s and 4 mana 3/3s and stuff. Pick number 7. Don't think I want another Treasure Cruise. Because now I have 1 of Treasure Cruise and 1 of Set Adrift, and the only way that we're fueling Delve is just by casting a bunch of instants and sorceries. We're not like self-milling at all, so I don't think double Cruise is really getting there here. I like the Weapon Master a lot if you can flip it. I'm going to go for that here. Now we've got 2 Morph set flip for white, so maybe we play 1 or 2 planes off a splash kind of thing, because it's like if we never hit the planes, we're fine. We're still playing 3 mana 2/2s, but we do get an added benefit if we do find it. I guess I take this Blazebringer thing. I don't think I'm putting that in my deck, though. Oh, Bringlow. I will put a Bringlow in the deck. I think that's okay. And a bunch of dual lands. I imagine I'll end up with a playset of these duels pretty quickly with the amount of splashy, multicolored, morphy nonsense I'll do, so I don't think I rare draft one of those. If you hold down the Alt key, that'll tell you how many you own of everything. But I did just remember we do have that 1 powerful green card on the side, the Bear's Companion, so we should probably take a Thornwood Falls just in case, rather than strictly rare drafting out of that pack. But yeah, in the future when I do rare drafts, we're probably not rare drafting towards... You know what, I'm not going to play 2 Tormenting Voices. Let's take a Hooting Mandrills for maybe the green splash. Or even a Kintree Warden. I'll take the Mandrills. Anyways, as I was saying, I don't think rare drafting basic lands is going to be a thing. I'm going to end up with so many of those in my collection. Or non-basic lands. Rare drafting those little common duels is not a thing. Okay, so we're blue-red with a little Morph white splash. Or we're just blue-red. Or we're blue-red with actual mana fixing towards green for a non-morph splash, which means if we don't hit the green source, this card does nothing. But if we do, it is significantly stronger than those morph cards were. Oh, I do think Cancel's probably fine in this format. I mean, 2 duels in a forest. Not horrible here. We have Treasure Cruise and Tormenting Voice that also make us see a few more cards per game on average, which helps us dig farther in our deck towards one of our 3 green sources, towards the Bear's Companion at the top end. I just don't think I'm getting like a massive, insane benefit to the splash, and there is a legitimate downside, mana-wise, of running a forest in here. The Highlands and the Thornwood Falls, there's not a huge downside to playing either of those, because we're not going to curve out perfectly. We will be casting 3 mana spells on turn 4 a good amount of the time because of Morph. or 2 mana spells turn 3 sometimes, stuff like that. We can fit a tap land in the curve without too much trouble, I think. I don't know, I just don't think it's insanely worth it for the green splash, though. It's just probably not necessary. So if we go just 2 colors here, the decks we've been drafting so far have definitely been 18 land decks. They really need to hit that 3 mana on 3 and 5 mana on 5, because they've been just piles of nothing but morph creatures. This is not quite that slow, that dirtily. I still don't hate the idea of 18 lands, but I feel like 17 is probably fine, probably reasonable for this one. Because a lot of the morphs in this one aren't those big 5, 6, 7 mana morphs here. Actually, no 7 mana ones in the other decks. They aren't the big 5 and 6 mana to flip cards. They're like 3 mana, 3 mana, and 4 mana. So even if we're putting them when they flip up on curve, it's a bunch of 3s and 4s in this deck. 3, 5 drops, those are the most expensive spells if you count the Delve cards as just a little cheaper, somewhere around 3 or 4 mana. And then an X mana spell. Yeah, I think we can just 17 lands it up here. Cut 2 cards. I really don't like that the Canyon Lurkers still just trade down into morphs, like 3 mana 2/2s, and 2 drops like 2 mana 2/1s after you flip them. Not a big fan of those. We have 15 creatures here, which is not a super high creature count for a more aggressive deck, though, so it can hurt to lower the creature count a bit. Or creature count, not the creature count. But we've got some prowess, like Dragon-Style Twins, Bloodfire Expert, Jeskai Elder, that get benefits from our high non-creature count. There's also that to consider, where it's probably fine to cut 1 or 2 still here, play 13 or 14 creatures. I'll cut like 1 Canyon Lurkers and 1 non-creature spell, I suppose. Meet in the middle on this one. I suppose because we have Crater's Claws, Arrow Storm, and Burn Away for like full-on removal, with Force Away, Set Adrift for bounce, Crippling Chill for the tempo tap, I think we have enough interaction to just like drop Bring Low as probably the most mediocre piece of interaction that we have in the deck. Again, I think it's playable in this format. I think almost anything's playable in this format. Just finding the right shell for it, finding the right deck to put it in. But I don't think this deck needs Bring Low on top of all the other interaction. I think that's probably the last cut. And we call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our deck list for today. We're on a blue-red tempo aggro deck here, where we're trying to curve out with some generally smaller creatures than what our opponent is doing. Lots of unblockable and evasive threats, like Mystic at the Hidden Ways and some flyers with the Mistfire Weavers, and lots of ways to slow down, bounce, and burn away our opponent's creatures, like Crippling Chill, Force Away, Cancel, Set Adrift, Burn Away, Arrow Storm, and Crater's Claws. So plenty of ways to clear the path a bit and hopefully jam in for enough damage quickly enough that our opponent doesn't drop their gigantic 7 mana 6/7s and stuff that this format is pretty well known for. So looks like a pretty fun, pretty different archetype from what we were doing our first couple drafts, and we'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1, unfortunately on the draw with nothing till turn 3, so certainly slower than we want to be here. But I think the hand is still a keep with 2 of our strongest cards in the hand, the Dragon-Style Twins and the Crater's Claws. So Valley Dasher to start things off from our opponent, start jamming in for 2 damage a turn. Alright, our opponent is the most aggressive color trio, Mardu, red, white, black, where their mechanic is literally about attacking. So, playing against a very aggressive deck that's on the play here, we are certainly going to start the game from behind. And they are really dumping out that board. Valley Dasher with another 2/1 that can jump to the sky, and a 1/1 that can keep buffing itself and getting trample. So tons of damage out there at the ready for our opponent. Can drop a Mistfire Weaver and probably just have to trade it off at this point into one of these. Or we can trade off our Crater Claws into one of these. I don't love any of these plans. I will go for the Morph, though. The Morph gives us the potential option of attacking next turn to trigger the Mardu Warsheeker's raid, so that we can get some mana and cast the Crater Claws next turn as well. So next turn I can drop a 3/3 and kill one of their creatures, which should be pretty nice. Dragon Throne of Tarkir. That is terrifying. If they play a basic land next turn, they slap this onto their creature that has to attack every turn, and then tap it to give everyone else +2/+2 trample. It's probably pretty devastating. Yeah, I don't enjoy that at all. I mean, we definitely have to go for the Mardu Warsheeker plus Crater Claws here to establish as much defenses as possible. This Dragon Throne is going to start doing some work, though. So, kill the one that can give itself flying. Or kill the slightly bigger one. I think we just kill the one that can give itself flying here. This one can buff into being super, super big, but it's always going to be 1 toughness at least, unless they're activating the throne on a different creature to buff its toughness. Alright, so they put the throne onto the Valley Dasher so it does not have to attack this turn, so it saves itself. Plus, they had the mana to do the buff here, so now the Cavalry's attacking as a 3/3, which will trade into the Warshrieker if I declare that block. Yep, +2/+2. I mean, in theory, our double striker sticks around and we can block a 3/3 with a 3-power first striker to kill it. So theoretically, we have a block lined up for this cavalry where we just eat it without losing a creature next turn. So I don't think I block. And I do think I drop the twins. They can't unequip the throne from the Dasher unless they play another creature, but then they'd have to play another creature and spend 3 to equip that other creature, which would definitely cost them enough mana that they wouldn't be able to also tap this in that same turn. So I can't imagine our opponent is really attacking us with more than just a 3/3 cavalry next turn. So I think I am in a position to send these in and just hold up the twins as a blocker. Because if they have the removal for the twins, it's got to be cheap removal to be super deadly, and even cheap removal, like 3 mana for 3 damage to the twins, just means they kill our twins, buff the cavalry, and we take 3. We still go to 7. We're still perfectly fine here. Okay. Or they could just have the actual perfect card. Yeah. I think we played that out right, but obviously active treason is a thing that could happen. Yeah. This is the best play against like any removal or creatures or anything else. So we played the play that was best against anything except exactly active treason, I think. If they ended up having 1 removal spell to kill the twins and then buff the cavalry, I think it was better to jam in for 5 than hold up the other blockers. If they ended up having any creature, it was definitely better to hit for 5 than hold back creatures other than the twins. I'm pretty sure active treason is the only card in the set, unless there's also an uncommon that steals one of my creatures. Active treason style effects are the only thing that this play was worse against, so probabilistically, statistically, without knowing what's in our opponent's hand there, don't think that was a punt. I think that was probably a reasonable line. Just did not pan out for us in the end, and we'll start things off 0-1 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2, monocolored hand, but 4 of these cards are in blue, the one color that we have, so still plenty of castable stuff, especially starting with a 2-drop that can dig for our next land, drawing and discarding a card every turn. On the draw again, which is definitely not favorable if we're in another aggressive mirror match. And it looks like we are. Red and black is likely Mardu again. That's the only 3-color pair, or 3-color trio that red and black both fall into. Let's drop the Jeskai Elder and pass here. Unfortunately, did not hit a land on our first draw, but we still have another turn before we miss a land drop. Take 2 from this Horde Ambusher, because I don't have any 0 mana instants to prowess my Jeskai Elder up with. And 2 for 2 on the failed coin flips. We'll see if the damage we deal here can help us get there. Draw a card, discard a card. Probably ditch one of the Mystics. It is a lot to play and flip them. And I like the Arrow Storm as a finisher at the top end, and the Set Adrift is going to be consistently, or not consistently, but considerably cheaper than it looks like because of the Delve when we have draw and discard on board. And if we don't have draw and discard on board, it's because they killed this, so it's also in the grave fueling the Delve. I think we keep the Set Adrift for sure. There is land number 3, so now we are slamming one of these down face down. We find a red source next turn, we play Warshaker and slam another one down? I guess we slam down the Mistfire Weaver at that point. Yeah, we are still getting rid of the second Mystic, I think. Then next turn we hit a red source, we go Warshaker plus face down Mistfire Weaver. We don't hit a red source, and we're discarding something to the Elder. And I guess just playing the Weaver. Slamming with the Ambusher again, we're cool with it. Could have a good raid trigger for our opponent though, good attack trigger, and they do not. We find another Mystic. Well, guess what's getting discarded? Get out of here, fool. Actually, we might have to discard Arrow Storm just because it is double red, which is tough. Let's see what we find here. I do find the first red source, so now we just need one more mountain to get to the Arrow Storm. Yeah. I'm gonna drop this little doofus. Let's go Warshaker Morph. Dump that hand out here. Now, we could just be playing into the double white and 3 board wipe from our opponent, but I'm hoping it's just an awkward curve. We've seen a lot of those in the set so far. So, I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that could be going on here. Yeah, I feel like if they had the double white and 3 rare board wipe, they would have just slammed that down by now. They would have just declared their attack and then slammed it down, but still. Yep, just a murderous cut to kill our 3/3. And they're still getting in there. Alright. I respect it. Send in the squad. I think just holding up the mana. Actually, just drop a Tormenting Voice, probably. Nope. Drop an island. So 2 mana for a Force Away, 2 mana for... Oh, it's 3 for the Weaver. Oh. I don't know why I always get the wrong mana cost on this thing. It's just... It's 2 and a blue, not 1 and a blue. Okay, I actually maybe should have kept the land then. Yeah, I think I'm still just holding up Force Away or the Hexproof Trick instead of Force Away and the Hexproof Trick, like I wanted to. Yeah, I should have ditched the Tormenting Voice like I was initially talking about. Inkleshanker. 2/2 haste gives all their creatures first strike death touch every time it attacks. So they just straight up win combat on attacks. First strike death touch is near unbeatable, but the power toughness they have on board is not nearly enough to outrace us. And even if it was, like, I'm just going to force away the 5-drop, make them recast a 5-mana spell. I think that's perfectly fine. Crater Claws? More damage to our opponent's face? Come on, Jeskai Elder. Give me that red source. I believe in you. Dang. Cancel's not bad. Goodbye, Tormenting Voice. Yeah, now we're just holding up a cancel or a hexproof trick, and then killing them with Crater Claws or Arrow Storm if we somehow don't find lethal next turn. Probably Crater's Claws at this point, because we're guaranteed to have the one red that we need for that at least. Just Ankle Shanker? I don't even need to cancel that. I can just take 4 and win. Or I can attack for enough through it to win. Right, take 4. Okay, well, we super get there with the red source. They're down to 2. Draw and discard. Missed Fire Weaver, I guess. Here is 5 unpreventable damage to our opponent's face, and that will be 1 and 1 now, heading into game 3. Here we are on the play this time around for game number 3, and our opponent takes a mulligan as well. So a couple things going pretty well for us from the start, but no 2-drop in the hand, so not going to be a super fast curve here or anything. Might go for the Mystic, so no matter what they drop, we're still just jamming in. Oh yeah, especially against the Highland game here, I think. Although, I have to flip it to get the unblockable damage, and so I don't even know if I am flipping it. When I can hold up a cancel instead? Yeah. I still think it's probably our best line. Like, just dropping a Bloodfire Expert and trading into a Highland game is pretty rough. Let's just drop this down, and then hopefully just drop the Weaver down as well. And then hold up, like, Weaver or Cancel. Could be good. Tusk Guard Captain. I am very happy to trade into that. That thing is spooky. Okay, so they don't block, which is fine. Got a Dragon-style Twins coming up. So now if they, like, spend removal on one of our morphs, they will have 1 less removal spell that might be able to kill the Dragon-style Twins. That was an excellent draw here. The one awkward thing about it is it does incentivize me to play it on turn 5 and just tap out, rather than holding up Cancel or Mistfire Weaver flip. But that would be pretty sweet if we could do that. So, yeah. Hold up Cancel or Weaver flip, or just slam down the Dragon-style Twins. We'd have to wait till 8 mana to cast the Twins while holding up the Hexproof trick or the counterspell to protect them. So I think we have to just slam the Twins out. We have to wait so long. Because it's not even we have to wait 3 turns. That would be if the next 3 cards are lands, which is not very probable. We have to probably wait like 7 turns on average from now to play the Twins if we want to play them while holding up protection for them. So let's just slam that down. Tusk Guard Captain's going to outlast, get a little sturdy there, and we're golden. We are go for Dragon-style Twins. We have Hexproof and a counterspell up. We can only cast 1 of the 2, but that is still solid. So just start slamming in with it. And holding up our tricks to protect them. 6 damage a turn if they don't do some chump blocking. And even worse if we get some prowess triggers somewhere in there. And what's really nice here is because we drew triple blue, we can drop a sandbar and still hold up that cancel or the hexproof trick, which is really nice. There's a morph from our opponent. I don't really want to just counter a morph here. I think I'm fine to crippling chill it during their end step, though. Although I guess I should crippling chill the 3/4 against the 3/3 double striker. I guess I could prowess trigger the crippling chill during our turn. That's going to soak up 3 of our mana, and we want to have 3 up. Yeah, I'm going to cash this in now and draw the card. Okay, so now we have 6 mana, so now I can do both of our things. We can counter and hexproof. On board, they can't beat the Dragon-style Twins. They have to cast something that I can cancel, so they can't beat the Dragon-style Twins, because if they block with everybody, first strike away these 2, and then kill that as well in regular damage. So, with our opponent at 12, I'm probably only holding up one of my tricks. So let's flip the unblockable card and get in. Might actually be slightly better. I'm not actually sure, but sequencing-wise, there could be an argument for declaring the attack and then flipping it up before they can declare blockers. I don't know, it really depends on the spells that are available in this set. But like if they had something to tap a creature, then by flipping it up pre-combat, they'd be like, okay, well, I'll tap the unblockable creature now. Stuff like that. So they tried to use a Feat of Resistance to kill my Dragon-style twins, which would have worked because it would have been protection from red. So this would have been a 3/3 that takes 0 first strike damage and then deals 3 damage to my Dragon-style twins in the next damage step, the normal damage step there. And even if I like prowess the Dragon-style twins with something, it'd still die because the death touch. So very happy to have the cancel there. Now we have 7 mana, and our opponent's just going to concede, so we don't even have to think about it. We are now 2-1, heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4 against Numot the Nummy. Mono blue hand, which is going to be a little embarrassing against Numot. Numot's going to be like, what on earth is our opponent up to, playing mono blue in the multicolored set? But we'll see. Numot's on Abzan here, white, black, and green at minimum. There's an Alpine Grizzly. Well, 2 mana, 2/1 plays pretty well against that dork. I don't even know if I attack in or just hold off on blocks against the 4/2. It's probably pretty reasonable to hold off on blocks here. I'm trying to just skip my turn. There we go. Bitter Revelation. Set up some draws for Numot here. Okay, there is the red source. Don't have the mana to force away and play something, but next turn I theoretically can play a Morph and force away, which could be nice. Let's cash in some damage here, I think. Try to get on the aggressive. No blocks, let's deal 4. And I'm just going to hardcast a flyer so I don't have to flip it. We just start chipping in with evasion. And top deck land would be beautiful. Play a Morph and a force away, and just roll in for damage. With the Arrow Storm coming up to try to finish the game. 3/2 that draws Numot some cards whenever a non-token dies. It's very valuable. And the Savage Punch with a 4-power creature on board to just win the fight. Set Adrift is not a land. Sandbar trade for the Harvest Specs is not bad. With only 4 mana here, I'm choked up enough on mana to kind of just want to drop another flyer, honestly. Rather than trying to go for the hexproof trick. We just don't have the mana to be dropping it for 2, or dropping it for 3 and flipping it for 3. Down to 9. Tusked Colossadon. 6/5. Numot's at 10. We just race here, right? We just force away and Jeskai Elder. Yep. Numot is dead in 2 swings to the flyers alone. So do I play it a little safe against some combat tricks to kill me? Yeah, because Numot's also dead to Arrow Storm next turn if we hit a red source this way. Even if we don't jam with Sandbar. Ooh. Now I'm going to play around Become Immense for +6/+6, I think. But yeah, now I need to hit a red source and Chump attack. to trigger the raid 5 damage. Concession from Newmont, nothing to deal with the Flyers, and let's go. Pretty happy with how I played that one out. I think reasonable decision making to just slam the Flyers down on the front side so that we can get aggressive and try to get as much damage with them as quickly as possible, rather than trying to greed out for max value by playing and flipping them, because when we're stuck on mana like that, especially for the second Mistfire Weaver, it's pretty difficult to justify slamming down 3 mana, spending our entire turn to play the 2/2, then spending our entire turn another turn to flip it up. So, I mean, it's a little easier to justify if you have like 4 mana and then you can like flip it for 3 and also cast a 1 mana spell or something, but we just weren't in a position to do that. So pretty happy with jamming these out as face-ups rather than going for morphs that game. And yeah, works out super well for us and we get that victory in the end. We are now 3-1 heading into game number 5. Here we are now for game number 5. We got that turn 2 Sandbar, turn 3 Mystic, turn 3 Warchief. Curving out here, and we've drawn the next 3 drop. This is one of the benefits of having a million like 3 mana morphs, is that make sure the Warshrieker definitely gets to dump something out. We are on the draw this game rather than on the play. I think we'd be in a really favorable position on the play, but I think the hand's still good enough. We've got some action here, even on the draw. Yeah, our opponent's just going to get that Einok Bondkin to be a 3/2 first strike, which is really nasty, actually, giving all their creatures with counters on them first strike. Going to be hard to break through their board state, so really happy to have the Force Away at least here. I'm not going to be flipping either of these up anytime soon, ideally, so I think I'm going to slam down the Lurkers first, because if that dies as a morph, I'm more okay with that than if the Mystic dies while it's face down. But we're really hoping we get a land, so we just drop Warshrieker and the other face down next turn. Don't hit a land, and the Parapet's pretty annoying. It only stops 2 damage a turn at least, so I think we're just slamming down another Morph rather than Force Awaying right now. But obviously we want to do that post-combat, so that we still have that Force Away up if they've got some weird 1 mana trick that I don't know about. Alright, get in with the Bondkin. Now we're potentially breaking through for 4 damage a turn. If they don't have another 3-drop, but this is a format full of morphs, so they probably have one of those at least. And they do have a Rakshasa Death Dealer that can regenerate or get +2/+2. Alright, well that's not good. They don't have the mana to do that right now, so any trade is currently favorable. So we'll see if they take a trade. They do not. They're going to take the 4 damage. And now, kind of wish I had double blue instead of double red. I mean, the double red's nice for these, but if we had double blue holding up cancel would be awesome. Because now it's like, if I jam down the morph, I have nothing to jam out with Warshrieker anyway next turn. So I might just hold up a Force Away, which is real awkward. It could play really well for us if they have a green fight spell or something they're trying to cast. That'd be pretty lucky. Outlast. Oh, to make Savage Punch give the +2/+2? Wait, no? Savage Punch is a sorcery. This is real weird. Okay. They've got the green-black up for Death Dealer to be a 4/4 or regenerate on blocks, so we bounce it, I guess? Okay. I mean, the Einok Bondkin tap was definitely surprising. Maybe they also have an instant in hand? I don't know, we'll find out. We're going for the just slam down an insane board state. Warshrieker morph this turn. I guess I could flip up a Canny Lurkers to kill the Parapet, but not right now. Let's get our opponent to low and get a board state that's wide to finish it off, hopefully. But this is what I've been saying about the Warshrieker. It's like, we are not playing white or black, and this card has still been awesome. So I think this card's probably just nuts if you're in Mardu, if you actually do get some usage out of the white or black mana. Ooh! Well, yeah, I guess if I knew the set better, looked over the spoilers, I could have Maybe gathered that would be why they would want to get another counter on the Einok Bondkin. God, that wouldn't even be that bad for us if it didn't gain them that life. But that life, they now have a lot of breathing room. Okay. Yeah, we probably just scoop to that. We'll see. I mean, still no double blue, so we definitely couldn't have countered that or anything. Plus, even if we flipped any of these up, they're still 2 toughness. I don't really think there was a ton we could have done. Again, I probably could have figured out that's what was in their hand with how suspicious that Outlast was on the Bondkin. If I did figure that out, then I guess last turn we just play the Summit Prowler. Instead of the 3/3 plus 2/2, we just play a single 4/3. And then we're in a better position because we can then cast that next Morph later. Still think this does enough work for our opponent. They still probably end up in the lead here. We're down to 7 now. They are threatening a lot of damage here. Can't really afford to flip an attack with the unblockable creature. It's looking aggressively over. 7, if I trump 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm taking 1 here, so I'm at 6 basically. I can't like flip an attack here, I'm dead on the crackback, so we just play a Prowler and pass. All creatures able to block it do so? Okay, so they lethal because we have to throw everything there and take 6. Alright. Well, it's kind of just Death Frenzy's game. I think that card's probably going to crush us each time. That was super gross stuff there. And again, even if I figured out that that was like what was in their hand and I knew for certain, I think we're still getting put real far behind by that, so gross. All right. 3 and 2 heading into game number 6. All right, here we are on the play for game number 6. Nothing till turn 3. So a little slower start, but we just don't have a lot of 2-drops in this deck, so there's a bit to be expected. Obviously, we can Tormenting Voice turn 2, but whenever I say nothing turn 3, I'm really just referring to nothing that impacts the board. I think with no guaranteed next blue source, probably ditch and cancel. Although there's the island, RIP. We wouldn't have had the mana up for it for a while anyway, though, because we're probably playing this and then flipping it the turn after, or playing it and then just casting a Mistfire Weaver. Yeah, I feel like if our opponent has cheap removal for a Morph, they're going to cast it during their turn, so I don't think like playing Mistfire Weaver and trying to get them to try to kill it next turn is going to play super well. I feel like most removal, they would just Sorcery Speed kill our Morph immediately here. So, what do we got? 2 cards in grave. I can set Adrift their Morph. Cast my own 3/1 flyer. Offer the trade or flip the face down. Or I shoot their Morph. So much mana to play this and flip it the next turn. I think this is a color trio that should probably have a lot of interactions, so having a Hexproof trick's pretty solid in here. Offer the Morph trade and then jam out the Mistfire Weaver. Is the line, I think. And it's an even trade. Mystic for Mystic. Alright, surprise, the Mistfire stays on board. That means we could have played it face down if they weren't going to cast interaction during their turn, and then we'd have the flip whenever they do. One mana flip the 0/5, that's pretty annoying. Just bounce that dork. 4 cards in grave after, then this costs a blue and 3. I'm 1 mana away from Force Away plus Treasure Cruise. So if I force away, it's the only thing I'm casting this turn. I can only cast one spell this turn regardless, and then they still have to recast it, so yeah, let's do that. Set Adrift it. Not a great card to have on top of your library. This might be the line next turn. Ooh, Jeskai Wind Scout. That's 4 cards in grave. Set Adrift for blue and 2, exiling 3 cards in grave, and I can play Sambar and Set Adrift here. I think that's fine. Our opponent missed a land drop, so they can only cast one of the 2 creatures next turn, and then we clause that one. That seems pretty legit. Submit 2, and then this costs a blue and 3? Alright, so I need to submit 3. Play it again, alright. 1 mana Crater Claws it up. Well, 2 mana technically, but X equals 1 Crater Claws it up. Put them to 10. And then Treasure Cruise next turn for more damage. Could save the Crater's Claws because it can like try to find lethal later, but 3 cards in grave. This cruise costs a blue and 4, that's 5 total. Can't play the Lurkers and do it. Because the Lurkers is a ground troop, I think I'd rather draw cards here. Well, I wouldn't rather draw these cards. I will say that much. But we got them out of the way for our next draws. Ooh, Arc Lightning is disgusting here. Kill both our creatures and shoot us for 1 in the face? You got it. Mystic of the Hidden Way is a big one. Alright. Drop some Morphy friends. Start chipping in for 3 unblockable damage a turn after this. Maybe try to get a surprise 5/2 in there, unblocked for damage. Could be big. Let's play around a tap spell by declaring the attack and then flipping here. We've got the mana to flip both, so I guess we attack both. But yeah, we gotta turn this up pre-blocks. Double block. Let's kill the Scion. They're down to 4. Arrow Storm off the top is lethal. And we are owed some non-lands by now. No, they got the Arrow Storm? You've stolen it from me. That's my Arrow Storm. Another face down. Got a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of time. And it is important to note, like, yeah, I know that I blew my Crater's Claws at their 1 toughness card, but they wouldn't have gotten down to 4 if I didn't cast the Crater Claws to shoot the creature. So it would have stacked into about the same damage either way, because we got a bunch of extra damage by clearing that thing out of the way. They have more than enough mana for morphs that'll turn into something like a 2/3 or bigger. 4/3 first striker, stuff like that. Oh, that's unfortunate. I think we probably have one more draw step at this point. If their face down is just moderately big here. The 4/3 that gives something else +2/0. Yep, that is what it is. I've got one final draw step. Let's get that Arrow Storm. Come on, Arena. No, their own set adrift. That is rude. That'll end this run. Well, they have to have something, but they have not been playing a land every turn. They have missed many land drops, so their whole hand is non-lands. So they'll have something. Yeah, I was gonna say, it could be like literally anything in here, and we crumble. Because I can trump the Weapon Master, but the Scald can deals 4, because it hits me for 2, and then they can crack it for another 2, so... Alright, they did have the tap there. Well, not much to say about that game. Like, I guess there's an alternate universe where instead of shooting the 3/1 to get more damage with our creatures, we sit there and just stop attacking. But the only way that would be the right play is if I, like, knew for a guarantee I was about to draw into, like, 12 mana throughout this game, which wasn't super statistically likely, so... I think we played it out right there, in killing the blocker to jam in for 5 that turn, and make sure the flyer has a clear path to hit for more on the future turns. Killing the flyer instead of just sitting on the claws as a finisher while not attacking them anymore. I guess I still would have hit them for a little bit, right? Because they would have had a... what was it, a 2/1 flyer on their board? We could have attacked with the 2/1 on the ground that turn, even if I didn't kill the 2/1 flyer. So that would have been something. I don't think it was right, though, to just hold on to Crater's Claws as a finisher rather than clearing a path. And it worked out fine for the most part. We just hit a ton of lands, which obviously makes it look like, well, we just discarded the 11 mana X mana spell. But again, if we hit more threats, it was a much better play. And I think that was a little more likely. It just didn't pan out to be the way we drew that game, so 3-3 it'll be. Very, very mediocre run today. The lower side of average. 3-3 is like literally right down the middle, 50-50 win rate, but it is on the disappointing side of average. This is what I would call mediocre. And then at 4-3, I'd be like, ooh, average run. Like, 4-3 is like the good kind of average, 3-3 is the bad kind of average, especially when you look at the prize support, where you are getting 1,000 gems in 2 packs, so we're down a bit in value in gems, but if we were at 4-3, that's about the break-even point, so pretty disappointing not to jam out like one more win here. I think for the most part, we played pretty fine today. We got Death Frenzied pretty bad, and then a bit of Flood in that final game. There was an earlier game, don't remember exactly what our first loss was, but I'm pretty sure there was something there that we could have played around that we didn't end up doing. I don't know how winnable any of the losses were today, and yeah, I mean 3-3, I think that's pretty reasonable for this deck. I don't think this is like a good looking little blue-red aggro deck, but it's a perfectly reasonable one right around the middle of the road, and that is how it performed. We won games where we got the Dragon-style twins like nobody's business. We lost some games where we just hit some of the more mediocre stuff and maybe a little bit too many lands, little stuff like that. About what I'd imagine happens with this kind of deck on average. Yeah, obviously, I don't think we drafted it out perfectly, but in ending up in this 2-color pair, I think we ended with a pretty reasonable build, if that is the color pair we wanted to end up in. I think if I was drafting purely to win, our draft pod was in a great position for just another green-blue morph deck with 2 copies of Secret Plans this time around, but I think that was an active decision to not play the same deck 3 drafts in a row just for content purposes, so that happens. That is a concession I'm willing to make to keep things a little more interesting and try out some more of the format, so pretty fine with it. At least we are still doing pretty well overall in the format. Still definitely a positive win rate overall with just a 50-50 run this time around. At least we're not just getting like 0-3 or anything with this deck, so reasonable run this time around. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video and you're interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.